All right, we are live, and today I have Allie and Will on, who are really good friends of mine, and I am super excited to talk with them and just pick their brains about the whole experience that they've truly been going through in the last 3 years together as a family. And I'm really just excited to have you guys on. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Course. So I want to start off because, I know you guys, but everybody who's watching may not. So I wanted to start off, just tell us about how you guys got together before you guys went, because you guys went to England and lived there for 3 years. But how did you guys get there? And, just start off your relationship and such like that.
After you? Okay, I'll start.
Yeah, you start.
We started dating in 2013, got married in 2017, and I was just in tech school. And there's a day where everyone gets their orders where you find out where you're going to be going in a few months. And mine just said RAF Lakenheath. And I thought, well, that's weird. I've never heard of that. And everyone was freaking out saying, oh, that's an overseas base, because everyone else got stateside. And I was one of two people who got an overseas base. And there's a small period where if you absolutely can't stand your base, you have, I think, like a day, maybe three, to change out your base with someone. So you can like swap bases if you guys are leaving at very similar times. And I didn't trade with anyone. After I found out where I was going, I said, I'm picking this. Like, I'm holding on to this. This sounds awesome. You fill out a dream sheet while you're in basic training, and they call it a dream sheet because you almost never get anything you want. You can fill out overseas listings. You can fill out stateside listings. And if on the rare opportunity your wants line up with the Air Force's needs, you can get where you want to go. I happened to get, I think, Lakenheath. Yeah, it was my sixth pick. Yeah. I mean, I decided, like, screw it. I'm just going to shoot for the stars. I picked, like, Hawaii, Italy. I went for everything. And I got stationed over at Lakenheath, and it was really cool over there. But we got married. We moved over there, and we didn't know what was going on at first. We weren't sure what to expect. I mean, I knew I was going to be working on fighters over there. But all that we ended up doing was just meeting up at a friend's house. They were lucky, or we were lucky enough for them to take us in. And we stayed there for a little while. Then we were given options for housing. They said, where do you want to stay? And we had the option to stay off base or on base, and there's pros and cons to either. Yeah. We chose to stay on a different base called RAF Mildenhall, which is a 15-minute drive from RAF Lakenheath.
We put a deposit on like a off base house, and it was nice because they hadn't offered us base housing. We didn't think they were, because people talked about being like on list for months and months. And so we're like, well, we're not going to be at this person's house, as nice as they are. We just met them when we moved in with them. Like, he was kind of like a hotel for us, pretty much.
Yeah, well, normally they're supposed to provide you housing, but I didn't get that for whatever reason, so he just let us stay at his house.
Yeah, things didn't go exactly how it was supposed to. He was very generous, and but we were just trying to like not overstay our welcome over.
So yeah, when we eventually found a place, it was nice. It was probably about 20 minutes away at a place called Red Lodge, and we put money down on it, and then they showed us another house. It was 3 times the size. Houses in England aren't as big as like. It felt like it was 3 times the size.
It had the same amount of bedrooms. It had the same amount of bathrooms.
But they were not nearly the same dimensions.
It had like one extra room. So like base housing had like a living room and a dining room. The other place had like, it was kind of just like one room that was supposed to be for both. So I mean, it had like almost the same amount of rooms. But yeah, the sizes of the rooms were different. The base house was a little bit bigger.
So how was it? Was it what you expected? Because you guys, neither of you have lived overseas before this. You guys are from Florida, and you guys had never lived overseas. So when you finally got there, is it what you expected?
I didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I didn't really think about that. There was a lot going on with me getting out from my training base over to Lakenheath, and I was just excited to be there. What did you expect?
I don't even know what I expected. It just like happened so fast. Like I just graduated college, and then bam, like
bam, in England.
And it just like, and you're just trying to adjust, and I mean, it's kind of hard to like.
So I expected driving to be a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be because everything is right-hand drive.
Kind of.
Yeah, everything's on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah, and it's really weird at first to see all vehicles stationed right-hand drive. But I'd say probably after like a week, it was secondhand. Transitioning back to the States, it was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, so you guys just got back here, what, a few weeks ago?
Yeah, we did.
I never had that big of an issue transitioning back here, but I would say it took me probably like a month to be comfortable like driving in England. And then I remember even like when we had like the guy that we were staying with, the friend, we were buying a car from him and he was like helping us learn, like get comfortable driving over there. And I remember like one of us would like be in the passenger seat and the other person would be driving, and then the passenger would be like so afraid because she's like, "Oh, like
the roads are so much
you're about
smaller.
to hit.
They are. They are.
So
The roads here feel huge.
That was the thing that I never got used to. Like I got used to being on the other side of the road and having the steering wheel on the other side of the car. That I got used to. Especially like if you're in a British car on the British road, it's kind of like, okay, you kind of get it. You're going to be closest to the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
But what I still, after 3 years, it still terrified me. I never could get used to it. Was like how you just like the roads were so small and like you'd be going this way and a car would be coming this way and
a semi.
And a semi. Every time I swore like I'd clench up because I swear I'm gonna hit them. They're gonna hit my like side mirror. Like and it never did. I mean, there were times where I might have like thought I was far or I was closer to the middle and I'd go a little and like scrape some bushes like on the side mirror.
Yeah.
But
well, when you first get there, they show you this video of somebody who, and it was on a road not too far away. There's a semi coming, the semi's recording, someone hits like a bump in the road because you know how terrible those roads are over there. And they just swerve over and then overcorrect and slam directly into the semi. And they're like, hey, you should take driving very seriously. It's like a scare tactic they do right when you get there.
Yeah, that's good for I ever since I watched Final Destination, all right, semis are not okay in my book. I don't care how close or far or whatever they are. Like if I'm encountering a semi on our highways, even how big they are, and they're going the same direction as me, I'm freaked out. So.
It's just a person in there, you know, they're liable to make any mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a huge the vehicle is 12 times my size. Yeah, no, I'm not okay with semis to begin with. So I totally get you, Allie. Like, if I were in that same situation, I'd probably be the one to just crash it. Done.
And with the road so small, like it didn't even have to be a semi. Like any other car, I would just be like, we're gonna hit, never hit.
And are there a lot of? I remember when I was in Scotland, there was a lot more of them. But when I in England, did you guys encounter a lot of like one-way roads where it was like you kind of had to like you pretty much had to pull off on the side of the road and like wait for the car to pass, and then you could, like, continue to go.
Like it's just dirt.
It's just dirt road. Yeah,
there's a carved out area where if you're stuck, you can just move over to the side, and the other person slowly moves next to you.
Yeah, no, we have a couple of those because we live like kind of in the more rural country area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we definitely like certain routes. You have a couple of those roads.
The worst I saw of it was in Wales when I went to go drive down there. I think I was near what mountain is down there?
Snowdon?
Yeah, it must have been Snowdon. I was driving around there, but we went to a different area. We went to the Penny Pass, and going down those areas, there's just this one lane road, but it's for two vehicles, and they just expect people to move around each other. And so you have you're going down this mountain, and I don't know, the speed limit is about 60 miles an hour. They use miles an hour over there. But it's just a one-lane road with all these insane turns. So anytime you go near a turn, I'm slowing down to like 30 because you know there's going to be another car coming around. I got hit probably 3 or 4 times while I was going down there.
Yeah, it is crazy. And like those roads are small. I think the biggest thing for me was the roundabouts.
I love the roundabout.
The roundabout on the opposite side and like knowing when to exit, I was like,
but everyone gets it. That's the thing about it, because if you go driving, there's just roundabouts. You don't hit any stoplights. Imagine hitting no stoplights. Everyone is so good about it.
No, it's great. No, I love roundabouts, especially the people who actually know how to use them here in Florida, because half of them don't, which sucks. But I love roundabouts for their purpose, but doing it on the opposite side of the road, going the opposite way, confusing. I just was
Yeah,
like,
it's a little weird.
That was like the last thing that like I grasped.
And in over there, their roundabouts don't have 2 lanes; they have like 12 lanes. It's only like 3
some
or 4.
of the bigger ones do. Yeah, most of
like
the ones
4 lanes, and you're like,
or 2.
yeah. Or but like what's the largest one? I saw one that had like 3 or 4 lanes in it, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
like,
we had the big one at the 5. It was called the 5 ways.
So it was just a highway, but instead of having any lights for people to stop, it's just everyone constantly circulating. It used to be super chaotic.
Yeah, it was really chaotic, but then I guess there had been a couple accidents, so then they put lights on the roundabout.
That's
but
crazy.
even with the lights at the roundabout, it still, I think, moved faster than.
If there's someone coming on your right, you stop for them, and that's all. So if you see someone coming up on your left, you just move forward, they'll stop for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is one thing. They're all accustomed to it over there, so they're a lot better with, driving and being aware of other people being there, which, not so much over here. Anyways, so going on to another
non-driving topic.
Yeah, a non-driving topic. Sorry, Mark. In regards to how many countries you guys have been to, how many countries have you guys been to before you guys went over to England?
Oh, not many.
Not many.
You went to more because you went
a couple cruises, and then we took a cruise together.
We went to Bimini.
So I would say, like, before we moved together, we'd been to 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had been to probably like maybe 4 or 5.
And then we went to Costa Rica.
But yeah, so Bimini and Costa Rica were before we moved. So we had been 2 countries together.
Separately, I went to Cozumel. So not very often, but traveling out of the UK is super simple, and it's very inexpensive. So
once you got over there, how many countries did you guys end up going to together?
12, and I went to Scotland without you.
Yeah.
So
So you went to 12 different countries and saw 12 different countries, just being over there and being submerged in the culture and being able to travel so easily to these other places.
And there's people who are a lot more hardcore about traveling because you can catch a flight for not much, like 20, 30 pounds, which equates to roughly $50. Don't quote me on that. But it's not expensive to go flying. And it's an hour flight. We flew from, where were we in Germany? It was like an hour-and-a-half flight to get back to the UK. And then it was another 2-hour drive to get back to our house.
Yeah.
So 3 hours total, and we were back and forth.
Yeah, and then there was we drove to like a couple places too.
Oh yeah.
Because we actually took a bus, like it was like a.
So
it was like a Groupon.
The ITT trip.
No, one of them was like a Groupon for Disney.
Oh, for the New Year's.
Not flight. New Year's Eve. So we spent one New Year's Eve at Disney Paris. And so we took
Disney Paris.
There was no one there. There was no line.
It was like a Groupon type trip, and like the bus just like picked us up at the post office, like in town.
Places.
And we just met at the town post office and got on a bus.
So being that you hadn't really traveled many places, did you find it easy to figure everything out? Because I feel like, especially here in the US, Americans here, they feel like it's so hard. Like I don't think they know where to start. And obviously you were thrown into the situation living over there abroad because of being in the military and everything. But obviously traveling to other countries, you had never been there before. So did you find it easy to like kind of figure out how to get everywhere and just in general like that?
Spanish helped me a little bit more than I would think. So just outright being respectful that'll take you miles. Just politely asking a question, trying to figure something out, using Google Translate to try to work with any other language that you have there. But something I found surprising was in France, the amount of Spanish that I speak got me really far. I don't speak a lick of French at all, but they're close to Spain, so they know a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't get that when I was there. I was always trying to like speak a little bit of French though, so I was like trying to learn French. So I was like, oh yeah, parlez-vous anglais? Like, so that. Go ahead.
France was the one country that was like for me. I mean, it was beautiful.
We saw some parts of France, but we definitely could have seen more.
Oh, we didn't see a lot, but I mean, I'm saying like Paris was pretty, but there were definitely like the people that I encountered weren't like the friendliest.
They weren't very welcoming.
Yeah, and like I remember, so like we went to Paris like on like a Groupon type thing.
No, that was ITT.
Okay, so we have
the Disney was like a Groupon. So like the end goal was to go to Disney, but they let us like see the Eiffel Tower.
Right. You're right.
We went on like a river cruise, and like we had time to explore because the Paris was like at night. Because it was like you spent New Year's Eve at Paris or at Paris Disney. Yeah. And I remember trying to like get food at this little like.
Oh, right in front of the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I ran in front of the Eiffel Tower. They had like all these stands. And I was trying to get food, and I was like trying to get the lady's attention, and she kind of like just was ignoring me. And at first, I was like, "Oh, like maybe she didn't hear me," and then like I asked like, "Excuse me," like I want.
And it was ignorant on our part. We were speaking English, and that's rude to them.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot with French culture. Like they want you to say, like, if you don't say bonjour, then like that's considered rude. If you don't say bonjour, like you have to be respectful of like what their culture is used to, and like if you don't try and kind of look up those trends, like you can definitely get lost in it all. So we actually have a question. So Margaret, she asks, how did you guys cope with the languages in other countries that aren't English speaking to some of the countries that you guys went to?
Spanish helped me a little bit, but honestly, a lot of people are English speaking, at least conversationally. So you can communicate like what you need. Like if I need to get to a train station, if all else fails, I would pull up Google Translate and I would just type in the word train station, and then they would help me out from there. Just for example. But we didn't experience too much of a problem.
I mean, maybe it was just like the places we went because maybe they were a little bit more touristy or like bigger cities or bigger like tourist like locations, but I feel like other than like Paris, everyone was very considerate, and they spoke English to us. And it might have been some places might have been a little bit broken English, but as long as like we were nice and like tried to kind of understand them, we kept trying to like say what we needed to know in English.
Yeah, so, I experienced that too. So when we were,
I was always trying to be respectful when I went somewhere because growing up, I was always told, the rest of the world doesn't like us. They think we're ignorant. They think we're loud. They think we're rude. So I was always on my P's and Q's whenever I went somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that's all it really takes is just like trying to, because sometimes there are countries where all of them are really taught English when they're younger. Now, especially the younger generation over there. So a lot of them know English. Some of them are excited to talk in English because they get to like actually conversate. And then some are a little shy because they feel like their English is bad. So like they almost like, feel like, like it's not.
Some people who were not the best with English, they'd get excited. They'd be like, "Oh, cool! You can teach me some English. Like we can practice right now." And that was sort of the mindset that they had with it. A lot of people I spoke to said they understood that I'm not the best at English, but you can teach me, and they were excited to learn.
That's
something I really like.
And I mean, I definitely like there were definitely places going into like where we thought like, oh, like they don't like Americans, like. We have to like, be cautious, but then
I thought about that. But then most of Europe.
Yeah, but then every time we go into the country, we were just our normal, like very polite.
Yeah,
nice,
I never denied that.
Bubbly like people. And
some people would like try to say you should say you're Canadian. People will
I got that too. I got that too.
We never had a problem, but I think it's just everyone's experience could be different with that. I mean, because we literally had experiences where like people were going like over and beyond to help us out. Like, I mean, in Denmark,
they're really nice over there. I think honestly, if you just give them the opportunity, like they want to help you, and it's really not. I think that's the biggest thing that people get caught on is they think that I'm going to go over there and I'm not going to be able to speak the language and I can't communicate with them. And a lot of people let that hold themselves back. But at the end of the day, like, if a lot of the countries over there, they encourage travel. So a lot of them, like if they're in granted, they speak average like 3 or 4 languages over
Well,
there.
it's normal for them.
Yeah.
Growing up, we get what, French and Spanish. Sometimes people speak Latin, but over there, it's really common to learn 2, 3, 4 languages.
Exactly. Yeah. So then even when they're going, but a lot of them travel. So when they go to other places, I think English is usually the baseline for them as well when they're traveling. So I don't think people think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely thought about that too. Like how I'm very fortunate that English, like, is my first language, or just I know English in general.
Lucked out with that one.
Because that is, a very like universal language, and I feel like, so if you can speak English, then it is easier to travel. And I mean, it's always nice to try to speak the native tongue, but as long as I feel like.
I remember when I spoke to a few Germans, I know the phrase "Sprechen Sie Deutsch." That just means, do you speak German? That's all it means. And they would get all excited. They're like, oh, you know German? I'm like,
no.
Kindergarten.
You're like, that's as far as it got. I did the same thing. I learned how to say, like, how do you speak? Like, do you speak and such like that. I did the exact same thing. And then I was like, I tried to learn German when I was over there, actually. And obviously I came back to the US and had no use for it. So I kind of dropped. But one day I'll get back to German. We actually have another question from Margaret, and she wants to know, what was your favorite country? And I'm sure this might be different for both of you. And I know this is a hard question, because when people ask me this question, I literally give them probably the most evasive answer. I'm like, okay, it's of 3 and there's no particular order. And I give that. But
easily Greece, hands down, Greece. I want to go back to Greece. Greece.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful over there.
Okay,
The water.
so
oh my God.
There is kind of a tie-ish. But Greece is definitely
Takes
in
the
there.
cake.
But Portugal
was nice.
Portugal is, I think, like very close with Greece.
But the diving, I think it's just because I went scuba diving over there. That
Oh yeah, the water over there.
It was so beautiful.
I think like those two kind of hold a special place, like with me. It's just what we did, like it was very much like a us type place.
Yeah.
Like it was very like we did things outdoors, like we were at the beach. We
went rock climbing on the side of a mountain.
Yeah, we went rock climbing in Greece. We went cliff jumping in Greece. So like I think because
we went snorkeling over there.
Well, you went snorkeling.
Yeah. Me and my buddy. Well, my friend Jack brought all this climbing equipment. He said, I'm going to go to this other island. It's like world famous for rock climbing. I'll meet up with you guys later. So he met up with us like a few days, and he said there's this cool spot on the side of a mountain. We cheated a little bit. We didn't hike up there. We ended up taking a taxi that took us like not even a 10-minute walk to the spot. But it was this beautiful, just straight ledge. And it looked over the entire city. And it was probably just an hour or 2 before sunset.
Wait, what city? Athens?
No, this was in Santorini. Forget the name.
Oh, okay. So I was going to ask that next. Like, did you guys go to an island there? So you went to Santorini. Oh, that's right.
It was beautiful.
The island.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like Greece also has an advantage because we were there for like 6 days, and we only went to Portugal for 3. But Portugal was very much up there. Like the beach was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in an amazing it was like an Airbnb type thing.
Did you guys stay in hostels over there?
No. Did you? You might have.
I want to say yes. I don't remember. But the hostels over there aren't that bad. I remember the one we visited with Marina. The hostels have been given a bad name, but everyone that I spoke to who travels over there, they're saying hostels are a great deal. Oh, I stayed in one with, okay. So the one I stayed with, I had a bad experience only because it happened to be right next to a nightclub. It was like Saturday night. And that
was when you went to Brighton with
with Angela.
Yeah.
And oh my God. The music didn't stop until 5. The sun rose at 5:30.
That was in Germany?
No, that was in Brighton. So that's like
in Brighton. So the party scene over there, at least in Germany, is like insane. They have like after nightclub. Like they don't stop until like 12 like 12 p.m. Like,
that's insane.
It was insane.
In Germany,
for Oktoberfest.
Yeah, that was cool. But you were pregnant at the time.
Yeah. Well, we
Ooh.
had booked it. We had booked it before
Mhm.
I knew I was pregnant. But they have alcohol-free beer.
Yeah, they do. They do. They
So
are very inclusive.
that was very cool. So I still got to like have, the
Yeah.
beer and like we got to cheers and
Oktoberfest was really fun. Something they didn't tell me is they're gonna have really cool roller coasters
Yeah.
over there. They had their own little version of like Space Mountain, but it was more like psychedelic and trippy when you went through. They had all these like colorful lights.
It
Yeah,
looked fun.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't go on a roller coaster. That was in Germany?
yeah. That was in
October
Oktoberfest.
in Munich.
Oh, in Oktoberfest. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So okay, I've heard from Germans specifically that like Munich is not like, because that's the main place that Oktoberfest is
Yeah.
being done. So I hear that it's just like a mess because it's just like people everywhere, just like
It gets sloppier the later you get.
yeah, it's pretty sloppy. And then, but so a lot of them recommend going to like smaller cities for the Oktoberfest. But I'd love to hear like your opinion about.
Oh, I like the mess. It was cool. It was very well done because it was in that same spot. Like they've been trying to outdo themselves every year, and they have these beautiful tents. They're probably about like I don't know, 50 yards long and probably about 40 yards wide. And they vary in size, but they're beautifully decorated. Everyone's wearing all of their what are they called?
The outfits, the
Yeah.
German outfits. Oh, it's so cool. The culture in Munich was my absolute favorite. Like just seeing like it's I feel like you're just immersed in the culture like so easily. Even I didn't go there for Oktoberfest, so I saw how much culture they had just on a regular day, and people are wearing those outfits, and you're like, you feel like you're in a movie or something.
Every day.
Huh?
I didn't know they did that on like a normal day. It was like, oh, I can't think of the word.
They have a store. Like they have a store you can like go and buy like those outfits and everything. And like I have a picture. Actually, I was there during or I was there during a time where it was called Munich Day. So it's like their day. It's like the 4th of July, practically might as well be. And so they definitely had a lot more of the outfits and everything. And like there was like this big bubble. I remember there was this lady and she had balloons, this outfit that was made out of balloons, and she looked like a beer, a big beer, but it was made of balloons and like frothiness. It was hilarious. Yeah, it was really cool. So just like seeing how I love Germany.
Yeah, well, we definitely want to go back. We want to go back. We want to do that road trip. There's a lot more things that we want to see. I feel like COVID really interrupted that.
I really wanted to go to Vienna and Salzburg in Austria, and
I want to see the Czech Republic.
And then
you haven't been to Czech Republic?
No.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well,
all the countries we didn't go to, we didn't go there. But I'm guessing you did. So tell me about it.
I did. No, it was amazing. No, I mean, it's funny because when you guys are talking about your favorite countries, like my top 3 in no particular order are Germany, Germany, Czech Republic, and Scotland. So Czech Republic definitely came out of nowhere. Like I went there on a study abroad, so I did spend a good amount of time there. Mm-hmm. And then I also went back because when we did our backpacking trip, I was like, okay, Michaela, you have to see, like it wasn't on our list. I was like, you got to see it. Yeah. And it was just absolutely gorgeous, and food amazing. Beer is like less than $1. So mm-hmm. there's that. And just the culture again, and the architecture, it's just so much to see. I don't want to I could talk about it all day, but I won't. So you brought up that you were pregnant when you were in Germany. So that is something I want people to know, that like you guys left for England as 2, and you came back to the States as 3. So tell us about how that has changed your aspect, because I feel like there's a lot of families out there who feel like, oh, if I have a kid, I have to stop traveling. And like, I feel like people have that mindset a lot, at least in America. Yeah. So how did that change things for you, traveling while you were pregnant and then afterwards?
Well, Aly was a champ during her pregnancy. A little bit, I forget, how far along were you when you climbed Snowdon?
I was only 5 weeks. But...
Okay, but still, she found out she was pregnant and she climbed a mountain. That was really cool. It didn't stop traveling as much as we thought it would. Closer to the end, we started traveling a little bit less, but after the boy was born, how old was he when we first started going places?
He was almost 3 months.
Almost 3 months. So we had
She was
a 2 month
like,
old.
2 months old when we went to Italy.
And that was much easier than expected.
Yeah, I would say
I just strapped him like right to my chest. I threw a jacket over myself, a
baby
little extra
carriers
large.
are your
Yeah.
best friend if you travel with a
And
small
we just
child.
walked around all day.
Especially a lot of places in like Europe, because like we went to Venice, and our friend, we actually went with friends, and they had kids. They actually had 3 kids, so they're even crazier than us. They had twins that were
It was
like,
inspiring to see, though.
yeah, they had twins that were like a month older than our son, so they were like 3-month-old twins, and they had a 1.5-year-old.
And they never stopped traveling.
Yeah.
You know, they had the 1-year-old, and then they had twins, and they said,
Yeah.
well, we're still going to travel. They still did it. They got it taken care of.
They didn't travel as much as us, but like they really wanted to travel, and that's why like they went with us, because like,
they still traveled, though.
Yeah, no, they still went, and they brought a stroller for the 1.5-year-old, and it was kind of difficult, and like we were helping him like
Venice,
pick up the stroller.
There's so many stairs in Venice. And
oh yeah, no, there are. I've been to Venice, and I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime we came up to one, I was in the front, and then he just picked up the back, and we just lifted the stroller up the stairs and then back down. And we kept going.
And even like other places, anytime we'd go, like, should we bring a stroller? And like we always like, no, let's just bring the baby carrier. One, because it's less to drag around and bring on an airplane. And it's just so much easier.
Traveling with a kid isn't bad. You just have to prepare a little bit more. You have to know like what you're going to be doing throughout the day, where you're going to be. You have to bring an extra change of clothes. I just brought an extra shirt, but since Aly was breastfeeding at the time, you would bring like whatever you needed for that.
Yeah, I mean that was like something for us that was easy, was that I was breastfeeding, so we didn't have to bring bottles, we didn't have to bring formula. Like I sometimes would literally like one time, in Venice, like he was literally like breastfeeding as we were walking. So that I was fortunate that was what I wanted to do, and that worked out for him, because that did make things a little bit easier for us, I feel.
And everyone's really respectful of it.
But I mean, our friends with the twins, they were formula fed, and they worked it out. We just stopped every couple times, just get a bottle of water, and they just
shake it up.
Yeah, shake the bottle up. And a lot of times when we'd stop to get food, they'd feed them. It's just, if you're determined to travel, like, you're gonna make it work. We were fortunate, I think, because one of our, like, another friend, they had 3 kids as well, and they had twins. Their kids were just a slightly bit older than this other family, and we had met them before I got pregnant, and they were always traveling. Like, we went to Northern Ireland with them when I was pregnant, and like we would see them travel with their 3 kids. And their kids were a little bit older, but not by much. I mean, we went to Northern Ireland, and their twins were like 1.5, 2. So I think maybe it was living abroad and like seeing everyone trying to take advantage of the opportunity and traveling, even if they had kids, and seeing like a family of 5 still traveling. And I was like, oh, we have 1 kid. Like,
it just put things into perspective.
Yeah, we
easy.
Yeah, I was like, if they can make their, traveling with 2, 3 kids work, then we can make traveling with 1 kid, and then we did travel a little bit before him, so we kind of like had some sort of like idea, of what to expect. And then
bottom line, it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. It gets harder as they get a little bit older, as they're more independent.
That's true. And how old is he now?
5 seconds. Come again?
How old is he again?
He's 1.
Yeah.
He's 1. Oh.
Yeah. And I think some things your like destination might change sometimes, like a little bit. Like, you might have to get a little creative. Like, there are certain places like we didn't go just because it just wasn't going to work with like a baby and like kind of what we wanted to do. But the
road trip was going to be a little bit more of an obstacle.
Yeah, but there's plenty of things. Like, I wanted to go to Budapest, but one of the things I really wanted to do was the spas, the thermal spas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me too.
Can't have a baby go in there.
So that means
babies aren't allowed
outside and wait.
Yeah, they're well. I was reading reviews, and I mean, I was debating whether we should just go anyway and take turns.
Yeah.
They said like they don't. It's not recommended for kids to go in the water.
Mm. Probably a lot of, yeah, even though it's really clean, probably just, not just to be safe, probably.
Yeah, and then I mean, obviously, like certain places like Ibiza wouldn't be the best place to go as a
Oh yeah,
family.
no, not Ibiza, no.
Too crazy over there.
There is still like nice things to do in Ibiza, like
Yeah, they still have a good beach scene. You can
they have
go.
that really cool castle and
They have skydiving over there. They have parasailing, scuba diving. There's a lot of still beachside activities to do, but that's just not what they're known for. That's like going to Las Vegas for the hike.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, they definitely are known for the
Yeah, no, definitely like kids don't have to stop you. You just might have to do different activities, or you just have to.
You cope with
Suddenly
it.
modified it a little bit. And then you guys done travel without him? Like, were there any trips that no, so ever since you had to get every single one he's gone on.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Every time.
Yeah, and with that was just living so far from family, and
So it was just us. A lot of
Yeah.
other people will say, "Well, we'll just drop them off at the grandparents for a weekend
yeah.
and go do whatever we want."
I mean,
Which sounds nice. I'd like to do that.
in the future,
Yeah.
now that we're back in the States, I feel like there are certain places, like even in Europe too, that I'd be like, okay, you go stay with like grandma and grandpa for the weekend or for like a week, and we'll go.
And don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind taking them with us. Thing of
certain
it
places
is,
I would just rather go without.
yeah,
but-
like when you're young, you might not appreciate it as much as like
Yeah.
when you're older.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I'm sure as he gets older, you guys are definitely going to incorporate travel into his life.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've known parents. I've had friends, and their parents have traveled, and then they never took them anywhere, and I was like, that's
No.
insane. Like that's crazy to me, because I feel like once I went over to Europe, I was just mind blown, and I had a conversation with someone over there, and they're like, it was a couple, and they were like, yeah, when we have a kid, we plan on when they get old enough, when we have a Christmas, we're going to be like, oh, give them, like, let them know the next destination that we're going to, because at the end of the day, like, we remember our experiences, not items. Like, I can't tell you what I got for Christmas 4 years ago, but I can tell you the trip I went on 4 years ago. And it's just, insane that especially Americans, like, we don't travel as much as we should. Like, we feel like confined to where we are. And I think it's just like, what?
People see other people traveling, and you think like, oh, if you're gonna go travel somewhere, it's gonna cost like a couple $1,000.
Yeah, they think it's unattainable.
Below your means, like you're not. It's not that bad. Staying at a hostel isn't this terrible experience. You get a bed, everyone's really respectful, and all you're doing is going to sleep and waking back up, and you just need a bed for the night. That's all it is.
You're spending your time in the hotel, like, you're not seeing where you are.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and like on that, like we didn't stay in hostels just because I always like hostels usually were like single beds, and I always wanted to like share the bed with him. But we stayed in a hotel, but it wasn't like the Marriott. Yeah, it wasn't bougie. It usually was like the cheapest basic hotel. But in most places, it didn't matter about the hotel. It mattered about the location. So like
place to sleep.
we weren't going to be at the hotel for very long, each day. So we didn't really, care to have the nicest hotel. And then like we also would do like I'd go on like booking.com, and in Portugal we stayed in like it came up and it was like someone's like rental house. Like so they had their house and then they had like 2 little other properties.
Oh, I remember that.
So yeah,
it was a really cool spot. It was so I want you to picture kind of like how rocky California is. I'm sure you've been to Portugal, but this particular spot.
I haven't been to Portugal. I've been to Spain.
Okay. Well, the south end of Portugal that faces Africa is fucking beautiful. And the cool thing about it is it's kind of like California and how it's just rocky and it leads right towards certain secluded beaches. It's really cool. But what was the name of the place that we stayed at with the caves? The one with the big hole in the top?
The caves were the Benangil.
The Benangil Caves.
Benangil Caves.
That was really cool. You've probably seen pictures floating around of this beautiful beach inside of a cave that you can swim up to or boat up to with this giant hole in the top that floods either moonlight or sunlight depending on what time of the day it is, obviously.
This
But it was
vacation,
really cool to go there.
This vacation was actually like pretty crazy because the whole vacation was like created around this photo that like I just saw.
Yeah.
I saw the little caves and I was like, I want to go there.
Instagram. Instagram's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think so his brother Eric was coming up to see us and he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like,
oh, we know what we're gonna do.
And I just like started like, where should we go? And then because it was like
all Ellie did was show me this picture and said, hey, I want to go here. And I said, yeah, let's go there.
And
we just started booking it. And when Eric showed up, that's immediately where we went. And I wouldn't, oh my God, I would go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
We got this really cool place right off the beach. And it was like not even a 5-minute walk to get there. Now, the beach in particular, they sell rafts and boards so you can swim over there. But it's probably like a 10-minute swim just to get to the cave.
Maybe.
Yeah, not even. But it's beautiful because you can see all these caves like directly beneath you. The visibility wasn't very good high day or midday because of all the boats coming by, but you can just swim right over.
Yeah, I was
10 minutes.
I was actually pregnant during that trip.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I really want to go to Antarctica. Never would have thought I would want to go to Antarctica.
Yeah.
But I seen pictures and I was like, damn. I was like, okay, putting that on my list. It's up there
what
now.
piqued your interest for Antarctica?
Oh, there's like, I saw this picture and there's this incredible waterfall that's just like, think like Niagara Falls, but like in Antarctica and like, I think even more gorgeous and like mountain. Oh God, this one photo. And then when I found out I was in Antarctica, I went to Google and I was like, oh my gosh, Antarctica is gorgeous. Like, okay, I'm gonna see you soon. But top of my list right now is Iceland. I really
I was just about to say, I really want to go to Iceland.
I gotta see those northern lights and just everything. I mean, everything about Iceland's gorgeous. It's just
I want to stay in like a glass igloo.
We almost went. We had plans to go.
I was literally trying to make it happen. I think it was like a 4-day weekend where you have like a Friday or Monday off.
I think it could have been both.
Yeah, or you had Friday and Monday off, or you just have one or the above.
But we were planning to go.
We were trying, but even starting in England, Iceland's not a cheap trip.
Yeah, it's not. And I had I get a lot of my flights from points that I do on credit cards. So my flight to Budapest was free. Like it cost me the taxes, which is like $100. So I made like a whole video on that. But yeah, just I wanted to do that with Iceland, but because like it didn't really work out, and like the flights are different over there and everything. So the time that I was going to Budapest was actually supposed to be Iceland, but I was like, oh, let me just do the cheapest way because, again, like you said, a lot of people think it's super expensive, but there are so many affordable ways to get over there. And I did a video on like how the top 5 cheapest countries in Europe. Like there's more cheap countries out there than you can bat an eye out. Like it's just bat an eye out. That's the wrong phrase. It is bat an eye at.
That's how cheap it is. Bat your eye out.
I'll go bat it out really quick. Hold on. But yeah, no, it's really is crazy how insanely affordable it can be. And England is probably one of the more expensive ones, I'd probably say. Yeah, so it's interesting that you guys were there. Yeah, and
it was like to 117 to the dollar. Yeah, the highest.
Yeah, because their dollar is worth more. Or their pound is worth more. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but like you said earlier, like the flights getting over from once you get over to Europe, it's so easy and so cheap to go between the countries. Because I once got a flight from England to Denmark for £12. Like
that's exactly what we did. So I saw a really cheap flight to Denmark, and I tried surprising Allie. It was like, I packed her bags and I tried to say, hey, we're just going to go on a trip down the road. And she said, well, then why is there a bag packed?
Why do I have a whole bag?
And I'm like, all right, we're going to the airport.
But it was good that I knew, because then I like made sure he had packed like everything we needed. So I was like adding things.
Yeah.
That's
Worked.
funny.
I tried surprising her, but she found me.
I mean,
Day of is
I-
fine.
it was still a surprise because I literally didn't know we were going on an airplane. Like I didn't think we were going on a vacation until like the day we were leaving, like literally an hour before. So it's still, I didn't have to do any of the planning. I literally just like, oh, like a couple more things in the bag, and I just got in the car and he drove me.
So that was another situation where I just saw a picture and I looked into it, and there's this park in Denmark where it's just filled with deer. It's like this regular city, and they have this normal park, but it's, God, I'd probably say there was about 50 deer there, and they're super friendly to people. They'll just walk right up to you. You just hold a
Wait, where
carrot.
was that? What city was that in?
Oh, I don't remember. We made a friend with someone out
It
there.
wasn't in Copenhagen.
No, I'm saying it wrong. Ours, A.
Oh, Aarhus?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Wait, what? There's one. Okay, me and my friend Michaela are gonna have a talk because I didn't know about a park with deer in it when I went to Aarhus.
It was super cool. So we were late to our flight a little bit, and there was a girl next to us. She was also late, and that's like how we met each other. But then me and her sat next to each other on the plane, and we get to talking. And she's like, "Well, what brings you to Denmark?" I'm like, "You're never gonna believe this shit here. There is a park where deer will walk up to you, and this is such like a novel concept to me because I've never seen a deer just walk up to a person." And I said, "I'm gonna go buy some carrots at a local Tesco, and we're gonna feed deer. And we got a hotel, and we can see the city, and this is gonna be really cool." And she said, "So you're telling me you're traveling from England to Denmark for this park?" And I said,
And it was just for the weekend. It was just for the weekend.
And I said, "Yeah, is there a problem with that? Or like the deer rabid?" And she was like, "No, it's just, I live right next to that park, literally across the street. And it's nothing to me. Like this is normal to me. And you're traveling from that far." Long story short, she gave us a ride from the airport to the park. They showed us around the city. We hung out for a while. Her family showed up and they brought a bunch of carrots and they said, "This is the spot to go for the best cheese." It was so cool. Really cool people that we've met.
So that actually brings up such an amazing point that I feel like people don't understand until they're over there, because that happened to me so many times when I was over in Europe. Like I would meet someone like literally by chance, like we're on the same hike and we happen to have a conversation, and then all of a sudden they become my friend. They're inviting me to their house. They're like, "Oh, let me show you around. Let me do that." Like, and you're like, "Oh, okay." Like when here in the US, like that does not, like, I mean, people are nice, but nobody's gonna kind of really go that much out of their way to like show you something. Like it was mind blowing to me that happened to me multiple times when I was in Europe, and I was just like,
so I
these
will
people
say,
taking me in like I'm family, and I've known them for a few hours.
Exactly. Well, I will say that it did happen to me once while I was in Washington, D.C. I met someone who was super nice, and they said, "Hey, if you ever come by New York, I'll give you a place to stay and I'll show you around the city." And I'm like, "That seems weird, but I'll take it." I wasn't sure what to think at first, but he was just a genuinely good person. He ended up showing us all around New York. We even went upstate together. We went flying in an airplane. He took us to oh my God, he took us to one of the finest dessert places in New York City. They literally sprinkled gold on my ice cream.
Gold.
Literally sprinkled gold on there. I wasn't ready for this. And then afterwards he was like, "Well, I hope you guys enjoyed your stay." And he said, "Just one day pay this forward to someone." And yeah, I haven't seen him since. His name was Mike Belsel. Really cool guy.
Wow,
Yeah, I
that's
hope to
really
see him
cool.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is pretty special how you can meet people and then they like you create this relationship. I still keep in touch with the people that I met in Europe.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's like they have literally become lifelong friends now. Like, and they're like, "Oh, if you ever come, to Spain or to Germany, like let me know and you will have a place to stay." And they're like, "Okay." And it's just funny to me because here in the US it's like people are friendly here and stuff like that, but I feel like people don't invite you into their home unless they have known you for a very long time. So that was definitely something that kind of hit me when I was over there. Just hit me. It hit a little different.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. People are super friendly over there. And the only thing I can say, especially being from Florida, is like, hey, if you ever come back to Florida, I'll show you some cool spots. Because everyone in the world likes Florida. I mean, aside from all the things that you hear online, Florida man, and I guess now with all the COVID cases. But yeah.
So, you bring up COVID. How was so you guys were in England throughout the whole COVID's still going on, but you just got back a few weeks ago and you were through the whole crust and quarantine, you were in England. How was that? What did that look like? I feel like everybody in America doesn't really know or or just you can't fathom what it's like over
from
there?
the American perspective, because from looking from the outside, it just looked bad. But I'll tell you my
Crazy.
English experience. We started seeing a few cases on it, and it picked up just before we wanted to go on our road trip, so that got ruined. But
His birthday too got canceled.
yeah, we still did something. But regardless, it started off as people saying, "Oh, it's in mainland Europe. It's over there," and so people got all that worried.
Time frame there, because I'm curious, because ours started like end of March. When was it over there?
Oh well, we were
Sure.
locked down lockdown started like March 11th.
Okay, so early.
It was like, so it was talked about. I feel like I started hearing a lot about it around like February.
That's when it started to pick up,
and like people were kind of talking about it, like, ooh, like is like something gonna happen? Like, should we lock down?
Because there was a lot of talk of lockdown. They mentioned social distancing at that point.
And like I know a lot of British people were like, why isn't everything locked down yet? Like people seemed like they were pushing it to be like for the country to be locked down.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people, like once we finally went in lockdown on March 11th, people were like, oh, we didn't act fast enough. We didn't act fast enough.
So driving to work is when I started to notice like how bad things were. I didn't stop going to work. There was no one on the road.
So so are the rules different because you were in the military? Like,
I literally got a piece of paper saying I'm a U.S. Department of Defense worker, and if I get pulled over by any police, because they were fighting people, they understood that you needed to go get groceries, and they let you go outside to exercise once a day. And they were super strict about that. If they caught some people twice, I saw this on the news that they would give you fines. The one that sticks out in my mind the most is somebody who was in a Tesco standing too close to somebody else's line before they put all the stickers on the ground. And someone said, hey, back up. And he was like, no, like, oh, this is stupid. I'm not going to back up. He got fined the equivalent of like 500 pounds, an insane amount of money.
Wow, 500 pounds for not social distancing.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that was in the beginning of March.
Well, I don't want to talk about the schedule too much, but I did keep going to work.
Yeah, just
in the beginning of March. That's when that happened, right? Like,
yeah.
Right when you guys. So March 11th is when you guys kind of went into quarantine, or you guys went into full quarantine, and then how long?
And it was full lockdown. Like you couldn't leave your house, but once a day to exercise, and if you needed groceries. But something I found really interesting is everyone was talking about this toilet paper shortage. Everyone's like, all the toilet paper's gone. But every time I went to the commissary, our local grocery store, there was a little less, but it was never completely gone.
I did one time take the second to last, like little 4-pack.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next, or like 2 days later, it was stocked again.
Yeah, but you did have some people who were trying to hoard and sell, but that didn't pan out for them.
So that happened over there too.
Yeah,
but not to the same scale.
I thought the whole toilet paper thing was an American thing, like blown out of proportion.
So tell me, like, what was your time frame? Like, how did things look for you? Because I remember talking to some of my friends, and they said, "Yeah, we're social distancing and we're on lockdown, but I have a friend coming over later."
Or like, thinking, or like my brother's like, my brother's like, "I'm going to the beach today," and I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, we're gonna stay away from people," and I'm thinking like, I cannot leave my house unless I'm going to the grocery store or walking outside once a day.
You can stay in your yard.
Like I did not leave base like for 2 months because luckily we had a grocery store on base.
You can feel that frustration.
We had a grocery store on base and we couldn't get things delivered. Like I would have got groceries delivered, but you
can't have anything delivered.
We can't have things delivered. So I just went to the base grocery store once or twice a week. And then we would walk every day together, like once.
There was this wooded area,
and then that was it. And then we were indoors the whole time. We did not hang out with people, nothing.
Yeah, so over here it was just end of March is when we got like the news, or like not the news, but that's end of March is when it kind of became a thing. People were stopping to travel. Like we weren't in full quarantine yet. I think that started like right at the beginning of April. And then we were in full quarantine for a month, and then they started opening like one. But the thing is like no one was forced to stay in their homes. It was like.
So were there any repercussions that there were?
Recommended that you quarantine, and there was still like essential. They split up into essential and non-essential workers. So like essential workers still had to go to work and like work. I was considered an essential worker being in like real estate, like in my normal job. And then like, yeah, there were definitely still there were people who like didn't believe it here, which is people just didn't believe it. They thought it was like overhyped, and then like there were it was kind of crazy. I don't know. There was definitely people that were not thinking it was as big of a deal as it was. There were a lot of people who still quarantined, and then people were getting tested. I think the problem was our hospitals truly just got overwhelmed with people coming, and we weren't prepared for that. So a lot of people were like just not being accepted in the hospitals. Like, it's like if you didn't show symptoms, they weren't taking you at the hospital. So then they were trying to get people to just self-quarantine for 2 weeks and such. It was just kind of like nobody really knew what was going on, and our news over here is just different. So I think people were just kind of pulled in different directions.
Dissimilar in the UK.
Well,
Yeah.
so from talking with people like during the whole process, and then like being, in the process, but in England, and talking to people in the States, it seemed like a lot like of the big difference was that if you weren't working in England, you were getting 80% of your paycheck.
And the rest of Europe did like what, 70%?
Yeah, so like England and most of Europe, you were getting most of your paycheck if you were deemed non-essential.
Yeah.
And you were forced to stay home to help, contain it. And then in the States,
it was sink or swim.
Yeah.
It was like, I hope you have like 6 months of savings.
They had like the stimulus checks, but I mean,
that was a one-time
we just
deal.
had the stimulus checks, and that took a while to come out, like because they were like negotiating those for a long time, and then when they actually like came out, then it took time to actually get it. So there was definitely been some like whole backlash with that and everything like that, and talking about a second stimulus check and stuff. But
it seemed like in England, everyone didn't want lockdown to end. Like everyone's like, no, like make sure, like
there was a huge sense of community.
Like we don't,
there was, like, people
we don't want it to spike again.
Yeah.
We don't want a second spike. Like
there were people on the Facebook community groups talking about like, oh yeah, this would be nice to go on a run, and then people would just start commenting like crazy, like only go like run once a day, stay inside, don't spread this. And I noticed that especially when I went driving, like just to and from work. There was no one on the road. It was the weirdest thing. Maybe I saw 2 or 3 other Air Force personnel going in between the bases.
Yeah.
But that was it. No one else.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Like it definitely died down here too. Like there was not as many people on the road. I mean, still like the volume isn't to what it was before. And you know how our area is, like lots of people, and like it's definitely more cars out there, but it's still like I drove down to Fort Lauderdale and there wasn't as much traffic as I expected. But I think that the biggest difference is that over in Europe, like kind of how we talked about, people just kind of care about like others. They're a lot of times in the US, I think we get stuck in our bubbles, and we just, it's our world, and that's fine. Like it's kind of the world we live in. We live in a very fast-paced world, and we're kind of just working all the time and worried about our family and our immediate friends. And like that's kind of how the mindset is over here, which is, fine. It's different, but it's fine. But over in Europe, they're a lot more concerned about like other people that aren't them, like families that have nothing to do with them. And they really want to make sure that everybody's okay, because there is a sense of more so of community where they're like, I care about Joe Schmo and everyone down the road. And it's kind of, I think that's where the difference is, because here it's like people are like, I want to get out, like I want to leave my house. And like, of course we want to leave our houses, but like people were definitely like, we need to get quarantine done now, like let's get out of the way. And it's like thinking it was going to disappear, and it didn't. So
no one, at least no one that I really saw online or anyone I spoke to took it as like, this is going to be quick. The more accurate representation I heard of it is someone saying like, yeah, this is a big deal, but I can't wait for like 2 months from now when it's still just as big of a deal, but no one cares about it. No one's wearing masks, and it gets a lot worse, which I feel like that was pretty accurate. I feel like it's to a point where we're going to be getting to that.
Yeah. So were they over there, were they wearing masks? I know they were social distancing like from the beginning and the get-go.
Yeah.
Were they wearing masks?
We were.
I thought it would have like died down a little bit. I thought people would have stopped caring, but I was talking about over here, like in the States.
So,
Yeah.
But over there in the UK, they're still taking it just as seriously. Everyone's like sanitizing, everyone's wearing masks. I can't think of a single person I saw without a mask.
well,
Wow.
no.
Especially like in the airport.
Well, in the airport, I think it's required now.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so now, so we were still like the states got out of like their like heavy lockdown before us. So like our lockdown started before the states and lasted longer. But making mask wearing mandatory, we like England didn't do it until like a little bit later. Like you would see
But we still wore masks.
Yeah, you would. Well, so the military.
We mandated that.
Yeah, the military. You had to wear a mask on base.
But they didn't supply us with anything. They just said, figure something out. Take an old shirt, cut it apart.
A lot of people were just sewing them and selling them. But like on base, you had to wear a mask. It was mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So then most people who were military, when they went off base, they would still wear a mask because they were forced to wear.
Might as well.
Yeah, but the English people, it was kind of like some people would, some people wouldn't. But
a lot of people kept their distance no matter what, right?
Yeah,
like
I remember in the grocery store when I went to the grocery off base, you like had to wait to get in. Like they were having lines, and they would only let a couple people in at a certain time, and then they wait for people to leave. Yeah, so they were doing that, and then I feel like when things started easing up, like on the lockdown, then they made it mandatory to wear masks. Because when we left, it was mandatory. Everyone was wearing a mask. But it felt like it was more of a thing in the States. Like it was like mandatory to wear a mask before it was mandatory in England. But then
I can't speak for the States, but I know that the mask mandate started in Wales and moved outward.
Yeah, because I feel like it wasn't until like the early end of July that it was mandatory.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for everywhere, but I know in our town, it took like everybody was on our counties because it was like a county-wide thing. Like the US is different than Europe. Europe, like their countries, like if something happens in the country, like it's like everyone in the country follows that. But like here, it's like the state may say something, and then each county can decide what they want to do, and it makes it more complicated. But so all of the different, like Palm Beach County got mask like mandates before we did, and then we got them, and then so and then now we had like they had like temporary mask mandates. So now even I guess those mandates are over, like where we are technically, but business owners have to like decide whether they want people to wear masks or not. It's very unclear. Let me just say that. It's very unclear like where you're supposed to be wearing a mask and where you're not, and like it's kind of crazy.
Okay, I know that South Carolina isn't necessarily like in the best situation either. Like it's kind of up there with Florida.
Yeah.
But we've gone to the grocery store, and it's very clear that it's mandatory to wear a mask. Everyone's wearing a mask. You see the workers wiping down all of the carts.
Yeah, they wipe down all the handles as soon as they get them back.
So I mean, we haven't been here for too long, but so far, like I've been, happy with. It seems like
everyone seems to be doing their due diligence over here.
Like, and I literally, people are putting their masks on, like even before they get to the store. And
I don't know what to expect when I first got here.
Yeah, I was a little.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. What did you guys expect? Yeah.
Yeah, I had no clue what to expect when I got here. Everyone said it was South Carolina, and it's really hot over there, and you don't understand like how hot it's gonna get. And I said, I think I know about heat. I'm from South Florida.
Yeah, right. Coming from Florida, we know, and that's the hard part too. Is that like when people are outside here, it's hard. Like, because if nobody's like in my vicinity, like I'm, my mask is not on because I'm going to die. Like, but yeah, if I'm even near people or even like gonna be going near people, like I put on my mask and I go in the store and I, put on my mask. Obviously, a lot of the stores are still mandating it, so it is kind of just crazy how it's been different. And I wonder how it's like, and the whole reason I started this whole Travel Tip Tuesday was to understand that travel is going to change a lot. So it already has, like, the airports are now requiring masks, and the airport, like, how is it in the airport? Like, how is it traveling with an infant in the airport from another country? Did you guys have to wait? Like, did you get extended because you guys, like, wasn't there a time where you couldn't do international flights at all? So
Oh, we got pushed back 2 months until September. At first, complete military lockdown, stop movement, no one's going anywhere, you're stuck here. And I was like, all right, well, I'm stuck here. And then they said, okay, you're leaving late September. You're leaving 2 months later. I'm like, well, it sucks, but that's not that bad. I can work with this. Out of nowhere, they said, well, we're moving you up at the very end of July. So I found this out in the beginning of July, and they said, get all your stuff together. So that was a whole completely different story in and of itself. But while we got to the airport, the taxi driver there wore a mask. Everyone was wearing a mask, but
We had to wear the mask.
there was next to no one in the airport. There was like a very small amount of people going. And on our flight, what was it?
We had the whole like row to ourselves. I mean, there was 3 of us.
It was a regular.
So
I forget what the aircraft was. It was very large, and there was probably less than 30% capacity in there.
yeah, and we
was
had
the double-decker planes?
I don't think it was double decker, but it was large.
Okay.
I can't remember the model of it.
But yeah, I mean, like we had 3 seats, but then the 4th seat in a row, no one sat in it. We had it
Mhm.
for us. Then like the row in front of us and the row behind us were empty. We had to wear a mask the whole plane ride, the whole time in the airport.
They did give us food. That was the only time we took off.
Yeah, we were allowed to take our mask off to eat, which was nice. I was worried because I think
I've heard that some of the flights are not doing food anymore, so I don't know if that's on a flight-by-flight basis, but like airline. I don't know what airline.
Yeah, I was definitely worried about that because I mean there were other because I'm a part of some of like the spouse pages for the military, and there were other people who were moving because they got an exemption or whatever, was told that you still have to move even though the pandemic's going on. And some people were saying like, oh, like they weren't given food or they were told there was no food, and I was like, well, that's
for a 9-hour flight.
That kind of
But I think that they allow you to bring on food.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that have changed. Like if you are now allowed to bring on food when before like you weren't able to.
Yeah. So
overall, it was a good experience.
not
It
bad.
felt like they took extra time to clean everything down. Everyone was wearing masks. Everything felt sanitary.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried about my son being that.
He can't
Even
wear
if
a
we
mask.
were to put a mask on him, he's one. He doesn't understand the concept of what's going on. He just doesn't.
So he's trying to take it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they require it on the baby?
No.
No.
Okay.
I don't know the exact
It's
age
2.
limit of when it.
Well, so it depends. Like the CDC is saying like 2 and over.
Okay.
I remember in like on base it was 2 and over.
Mhm.
But then I know it's different because the states, by city, by county, so everyone's kind of different. So I think where we are, it's like it's either 6 or 10. I know that's very different ages, but I can't remember because I remember somewhere it was 6 and
I'm glad you
somewhere it
looked
was
all this up
10.
because I definitely didn't.
But I mean, the CDC doesn't recommend until they're 2. So I mean, I'd probably follow that. So when he does turn 2, I'll probably, if everything is still kind of like this and everyone's still wearing masks and it's still like kind of they don't have a vaccine, or if it's still kind of crazy, then yeah, we'll probably get him a mask and he'll wear it. But
So,
I think more
do
than
you
that.
know anything about the schools over there? Because I am curious. The schools here in the U.S. are going back.
Yeah. Did you hear about Georgia?
No. What's
Yeah,
going
this
on?
happened earlier today. I think there was like a confirmed 200 cases since they've opened up their school. I don't know how long they've been open for, but I saw a headline saying that it was like 200 plus cases since they've opened, and it hasn't been open for very long.
I'm not sure about
Wow.
here.
Yeah.
Well, I know here, but I know the schools are opening up here. But do you know, like in England, if they're opening schools, or if that's not a thing, or if virtual? I know your kid's only a year old. I'm sure you guys.
I haven't looked too much into this.
If you didn't know, then that's fine. I just wondered if you knew.
I know they were trying to hold off making the decision. They were like trying to be like, well, like I think they were making the decision in June, but then it was kind of when things were getting hectic with our move and stuff, where we thought we were moving, then we didn't, and then but I know they were trying to get like certain grades back. Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. I
Yeah.
couldn't accurately tell you anything.
Okay, that's fine.
I know that they are, like, I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether you can choose to go back in person or virtually.
Yeah.
But I know that there is the option to go back. I don't know if you can also do it virtually because I know our friend, their kids are going to school, but at least I know the schools on base and like the child development centers on base, the kids have to wear masks. So as long as they're like 2 or 3 and up, they have to wear a mask. But they have to bring in like 5 masks a day, like different ones, and then every time they take it off to eat or take a nap, they have to put a new one back on.
Okay.
I'm sure they got a reason for that.
I know like the base schools, like they're going back, but it's like the teachers are wearing masks, the kids are wearing masks, and I'm sure they're doing some sort of social distancing. But I don't know about I don't know what's happening like in England on like off-base schools, but I'm pretty sure they're going because our friend, their kids are going.
Their school system's a little bit different. They don't get the large summer break that we do. Instead, they get more consistent, like longer holidays off.
Yeah.
I know they're going to school, but I don't know like
if it's virtual or what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, no, that's it. It's crazy to just compare them because I think that things are just being done a little bit differently over there. Plus, you guys kind of have like a mixture. I feel like you have a mixture of an American, because like obviously the military base is probably going by American standards, you know what I mean? They're not going by England standards. So you definitely have like a mix of like, you know, seeing what was in England and then also the base too. So it was combined there. And that's really interesting. Is there anything else you guys can think of? By the way, if you guys are watching, you guys can feel free to ask questions. If you have anything for Aly and Will, you guys have answered a lot. Yeah, feel free to ask questions. But is there anything else you guys can think of that you guys haven't really mentioned? What is like the biggest? Let's hear from each of you. What's the biggest thing that you have taken from your experience in Europe, like in England, or just traveling in general?
I feel like this is the part where I say something that like changed me and moved me as a person. But damn, I just want to travel more. That's all it is. There's still so much more I want to see. And I feel like regardless of how long you spend there, how many things you go see, there's always going to be something that you miss. And I just want to hit at least a few more cool major ports.
Absolutely. No, I feel the same way. It's like I got addicted to travel, and like I thought COVID was gonna I don't know what I thought COVID was going to do, but it really made my itch to travel even worse. So now I'm like, okay, like now I really need to go somewhere.
It's a candy you can't have.
Yes, exactly. So I had the itch before, and it definitely changed now. What about you, Aly? What's the?
I think it just put things like in perspective, like how big and different like the world is, and like I don't know.
Speaking of different, oh my god, all the different food.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And then I think it also like with the like speaking English, like I kind of felt privileged, like that I can go to so many different places, and even though their native language isn't English, like most of them can speak enough where they understand me and will take my service and like talk to me.
I'm back in Greece eating lobster on the beach on a plate of noodles.
Lobster? Did you have the Greek food though? The Greek food in Greece? Oh my god!
Yes,
that I think.
That restaurant we were on, like at the top of the cliffside, right at sunset, drinking wine, eating pasta.
That was, I think, one of my favorite like places for food.
Yeah. Where? Greece.
Greece.
Yeah. Greece's food.
Germany was good too.
Germany was really good.
They're meat heavy.
A lot of Central Europe is very meat heavy. Prague was or Czech Republic, I should say, in general, is very meat heavy as well. A lot of pork and like potatoes and stuff. But some of the meals I had, the seasonings that they use, like it's just completely different. And you're like, I didn't even know that this combination existed. You're like, who came up with this? I don't know. And like, and one of the biggest things in Greece, I'll say, that like really blew my mind, and like it happens a lot with a lot of different things in the US here, because in the US we have an idea of what things like are supposed to be like, and what things are supposed to taste like, and what foods they have over there, right? Because we have this generalized concept of like what food is traditional to each place. When I went to Greece and I was looking for a lamb gyro, whatever the hell you call it. When I was looking for a lamb gyro, and they told me they don't have lamb, I was like, no, you're not. I was like, let me go to the next place.
Don't lie to me because I'm American. I know you have lamb back there.
Lamb gyros in the US, and that's what I eat, like lamb. Like you would think that lamb gyro would be Greek. Like it's the first thing you think of with a lamb gyro.
It's all over the UK.
And then, the what they're called doner kebabs, right, and stuff like that over there. So when I went, and I literally went to like 4 or 5 different Euro places, and they were all like, no, it's beef or chicken. I was like, America lied to me. Well, this is just grand. And so I got beef, and it was still really good in the tzatziki sauce over there. Ooh, tastes completely different. Don't know how, don't know why, but it was amazing.
It's legit. It's real over there.
It's legit.
It wasn't a gyro.
Oh, it was a different setup. It was like in a bun. Not a bun.
Pita.
Pita. That's it.
But it was like, so we got the fast food version of it in Athens, and then we got like the more.
I don't remember what
Did you guys have moussaka?
Yes, that's so good. Ooh. Oh, it's gonna bother me.
Moussaka was so good. I remember I took a boat from Italy to Greece, and I was taking that boat over there, which was really cool, like this huge carrier ship that holds cars and everything. And then when we were eating there, the like food that they had serving there, moussaka was one of the things, and I was like, I don't know what moussaka is, but okay, I'll try it. And it was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was so good. Okay, so it's souvlaki.
Oh, souvlaki. Yeah.
I have like the fast food version with like they put like the French fries in it. So good. We because we went to Athens, and then the next day we flew from Athens to Santorini. It was just the way it was cheaper. And we got to like our hotel for the night, and like it was like kind of like this lady's like rental unit, and she was like, oh, like, can I help you guys get food? Like, did you guys see anything? And they're like, oh yeah, we're starving. And then she's like, okay, I recommend this like fast food place. And she's like, let me call for you. What do you want? And we told her. And
again, we only spoke English.
Yeah, that was the one thing. Like, I guess Athens. She was like, oh, let me order it for you guys. And so
one of the most amazing experiences I had in Greece was that I took a walking tour. I don't know did you guys take walking tours when you're over there? The free walking tours in the city? So that's a really cool thing to do if you're ever in Europe, and going on those free walking tours is free, and you just get them what you want. So they make pretty decent money from it, but they're just telling you all about the story, and you're walking around the city and everything. And the tour guide in Greece told us, go to this restaurant, and I have a picture of it somewhere. It's like called some donut. It's in my video about the 5 cheapest countries, because Greece is one of them. And he said, ask for the red menu. And he was like, just go there, tell him I sent you, ask for the red menu. And he's like, you're good. And I was like, okay. So we all went there, me and my 4 friends, because I was with Michaela and we had 2 other friends with us. So we went there, sat down, told them we wanted the red menu. And they're like, oh, okay. And then like they go in, and then they bring out plates and plates and plates of food. Like, we didn't know what we were eating. They were just setting it down, and we're like, oh, what did we get ourselves into?
That's
and
cool.
Every single thing they brought us was like amazing. I was like, I don't know what I'm eating. This is amazing. I'm mind blown by the food. It was insane. It was really cool. But so just like little things like that from asking locals about things is like really cool to me to experience when going to different places. And yeah, it was just crazy. So you were breastfeeding, so I guess it didn't really matter with the kid. But how do you guys think, well, Will isn't right there right now, but how do you guys think that this is going to affect your travel in the future? Like, or actually, let me ask this. What Do you think you would have traveled as much had you not gone to England?
It would have definitely been spread out way more. So at this point, we probably would not have been able to go to that many countries. I mean, because some of our trips weren't very even long. Like some of them were weekend trips, or we just took 1 or 2 days off work and we did it, Thursday to Tuesday or something, or we just like cause the military, they have off a lot of holidays, especially when you're overseas. Like every holiday you have like they have off, and they have like family days. So like there were so many long weekends that we had, and we just were like, oh, it's a long weekend. Where can we go? What flight is a good deal right now? And so I mean, when I feel like, and I might even keep this in mind, but it's also harder when you're paying more for flights to only go for a short amount of time. But that is one thing like I learned being there. We went to places for 2-3 days, and we still got a lot out of it. So
Absolutely.
we didn't have to take off too much of work, and we still got to go to a whole other country and have like a whole experience and get back in time to go to work.
Yeah, how I think about travel over there, I think of it like the States. So Europe has all of these countries, and a lot of the countries are comparable to the States over here, like in size.
Yeah.
So traveling between states is pretty much like traveling between countries over there, especially because you don't need, once you're over there, once you're checked in, you don't need a passport to go over these borders and everything. So it's a lot like traveling to another state, except the crazy part is you're going into a whole nother culture, a whole nother language,
Yep.
like a whole nother history, let alone. And I know I got into history when I was traveling over there, and I never liked history before. I was like, I don't really care about history, but being there and like, especially in Greece, and like how old it all is, I was like, oh my God, this is like older than anything I could ever think of, because everything in Europe is older than it is here in the US, because the US is relatively new compared to Europe, which was insane. It was like, you don't even think about it. You read about it in a book, and then you go there and you're like, holy crap. Like, it's just crazy. So it's just, I think about, and I do a lot of weekend trips as well here in the US. Like I'll travel, Florida is like takes 12 years to get out of. So it's hard to get out of Florida, but I take a lot of road trips to different places. And I think that that's just as important. So you guys think you're going to have a little bit more, how many states have you been to? Have you been to a lot of states?
So Will has, because he's gone on like 2 like road trips in the States. I've been to I might have actually at this point have been to more countries than states. Probably.
Me too.
So and there's like even some like states that I've been to like once, or I drove through, but it doesn't really.
Yeah, no, I don't count. If I've driven through it, if I haven't spent time there, I don't consider, because I've driven from here to Pennsylvania like 20,000 times. But yeah, so, like I have to spend time there.
I definitely think, especially with like the pandemic and just even like putting that aside, like we just bought a house, like we'll probably do more stateside trips, but I'm actually like looking forward to that too. Like we're in South Carolina right now, and I've already been looking at like all these cool things to do in North Carolina, because
North Carolina's gorgeous.
Because both, I don't even think but before moving here, I don't even think I just have driven through South Carolina. I don't think I ever really stopped in South Carolina to do anything. And then North Carolina, it was like I mostly drove through, but I think I stopped and like did a couple things, and then continued on to like most of the time I was just driving to Tennessee. And so I'm excited to just like be able to just
travel to more states and see them.
Doing some state things, and maybe in a year take another international trip.
I was
maybe
gonna say,
find
like,
out.
when do you think things, like, I know that you don't have an expert opinion or anything like that, but from what you've experienced in England, when do you think that travel is gonna, like, international travel is gonna come back? Or I mean, you can't get over there now, can you? Or are they allowing people now? You guys were able to come over here, but
So it's tricky because I'm I think it's opened back up a smidge, but then it's just like the whole quarantining after you travel kind of
oh
thing.
yeah, the 2 weeks, yeah. Did you
So
have to
and then
quarantine when
like
you came over here?
yes, but because we're not living on base, like we still have to go get groceries, you know, and we like still had to do some like essential things, but like besides like essential things, like yeah, we're pretty much quarantined.
Okay. For it's supposed to be for 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And
So
has anyone like checked up on you on that, or is that like kind of just
no, they like so like he's not supposed to go into work for 2 weeks. So he's been home and we haven't left the house like except to go to the store just because I mean we moved into an empty house and all of our like we just had what we packed in bags. All of our furniture won't be here for like two months. So
2 months?
my mom,
Oh, because
yeah,
you had your furniture over there. Oh, and it's gonna come over here. Wow, that
yeah.
sounds like it was really expensive.
Yeah, so I mean the military pays for it all.
Oh, okay. Well,
But it just takes like at least 2 months to get all our stuff here. And so my mom, she left a couple things at our house because she came before we moved here just to like walk through the house and like help us close on the house. So she went to Walmart and she got us a couple things and she left them in the house. And then a lot of it is just things we've had mailed to us. Like Amazon has been my best friend.
oh yeah, no, girl, I use Amazon all the time. Yeah.
And when we first got here, we were ordering groceries on like Amazon Prime, like the Whole Foods, and so we were having it delivered to our door. But I can't figure out Instacart. I don't know. It doesn't like me. It like kept canceling my order. So we've had to like we've gone out and got groceries like a couple times, but like yeah, besides like that, like yeah, we pretty much have been stuck inside, but no one's really been checking up on us. You just go to work, like just to say hi, and then they're like, "What are you doing
come
here?
in, sign some paperwork.
Like, what are you doing here? You go back home." And we're like, "You."
That was a different organization, but yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we've got a question. Now that you're back stateside, now that you're back in the U.S., where do you want to travel here? Like, where's like your first
There's
on
a
your
few different places I want to go.
Sliding Rock.
Mostly, I just want to see family, and there's some places I want to see South America. You know, Guatemala, Argentina,
Oh yeah, I guess
Antarctica.
that would probably be our next like international like trip would be
But
Guatemala.
like here in the U.S., I know that
Sliding Rock, North Carolina.
We were talking about like traveling in the U.S. Like, is that something that's you've been to more states than Allie and probably me, but do you feel like a stronger pull to like traveling more of the U.S. now that you've traveled to so many countries and like seeing what's here? I know that you've done a lot more. How many states have you been to, Will?
About 33. I want to go see Washington and Alaska.
Oh, geez. So
there's a lot of cool stuff over there.
So I mean, I think the next like big like the next trip that we can like drive to it'd be Sliding Rock in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And then I would really like to go to Washington. So I feel like that would be the first flight in the States trip.
But for me first, it's seeing family. Because it's been 3 years since we've seen them.
Yeah. Well, you have to come back down to Florida and say hi to me too. Hi.
Love to see you.
I will say, when you guys go to Washington, make sure you go to Oregon. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah,
I feel like Oregon is one of the underrated states in the US. Like, I saw the most beautiful sunset like I've ever seen in my life, like just seeing like mountains on beaches. I mean, and granted, you guys have been some really cool places, and I've been I've been to 14 countries as well, but like Oregon was just like mind-blowingly gorgeous to me. But
I've seen photos.
Yeah, fall seems like a good time to go.
Oh yeah, and the trees are like skyscrapers over there. It's like insane. It's insane. But
well, Lucie, we got some family here. Do you have any final questions for us?
Nope, that's it. I think I was asking Allie if there was anything last thing that you guys had to say.
No,
Do you guys do you have any like do you have like an Instagram that you guys have a combined Instagram or anything that like people can follow you? Like you don't have to, but I just wondered.
Allie, what's yours?
Mine is ALYY_girl.
But honestly, mine's Goodwill Running. I haven't been posting almost anything at all in a while.
No, it's fine. I didn't know if you guys cared. You know, if you don't care for people to like follow you or anything, that's fine. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Anyway, thank you for considering us.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on. And I know this lasted a little bit longer than we expected, but you guys had so much great content to just talk about. And I really, really, truly appreciate you guys coming on here. For all you guys watching, I do this every week, the Travel Tip Tuesday, and have new guests come on. And Allie and Will were so nice to come on and talk and give us their experience from England and just their perspective in general. So thank you guys so much. And I hope to see you guys, if you guys are watching, to see you guys next week and your questions. Thank you for all your questions as well. So thank you guys, and see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
I got batteries for the remote.